Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
And before you see a Marshal, the Marshal of the Livonian Brotherhood of the Sword. And this is the chap here. The normal thing is the head of the chapter will wear the reverse colours of your order chapter, which is, let's see, a chapter. Just think of Space Marines. You have chapters of Space Marines. Each holy order had chapters, which were individual units of soldiers who were positioned in different areas of the world. So let's think that he's a Space Marine commander. That's what he is. So this guy is a Marshal, and your Marshals they commanded a local area, a local region. So if you built a fortress out on the border of Estonia, then you would send a Marshal up there to command 20 or 30 men, those heavy infantry would have sergeants assigned to them. There might even be a few knights. And he would be the commander of those troops. And that's who this guy is. His shield is done in the livery of the Livonian Order, which is the Iron Cross there and the sword just there. The moon is actually part of this guy's personal livery, his own household's design, and the cross there is to denote the parent chapter, so to speak, if we're talking Space Marines, which is the Germans with the funny helmets. Teutons. I can never remember the name. I just have a thing about remembering German names.
Just put scary helmet.
Scary helmet people, yeah.
Remember them.
So it's a pretty descriptive helmet. It tells you anyone on the battlefield who this guy is. Everyone will recognise him. If you're a king, then you simply have the king's personal seal on. If you fight for the king, you have the king's the symbol of the king. It doesn't matter. The helmet is painted red, although the paint, it was enamelled. It didn't tend to last very long in battle, and certainly not in really cold weather. So on all the figures, I've painted all the armour red, and then I've dry brushed over it with silver. So because it's all been scratched off. These guys are on campaign all the time. The Livonian Brotherhood probably had very little time to actually sit down and relax. They spent 30 years constantly fighting, apart from the wintry bits where they were asleep. So there you go. His livery tunic is done in two colours, which is the white of the Livonian Order, but it's half red because he isn't the Order Master. He is whatever you want to call it.
He's a Marshal.
Marshal. So he only has half the colours instead of the whole colour. And it is a very, very easy way of identifying him on the battlefield. At the moment, I only have one foot figure for this guy. I haven't made a mounted version. In all of our armies, I'm going to make, when there's a sort of character type officer, I'm going to try and make a mounted version of the same officer. But I haven't done that for this because at the moment I haven't got a spare horse because I haven't opened the other boxes yet, and I'll get around to that later. So that's the chap. I'll just scoot round. I think head on, he looks really terrifying. He looks like the sort of guy we don't want to mess with.
In person, yeah.
Yeah, he really does. His shield's nice and dirty. He's got a bit of frosted snow on the front of his shield because he's scratched it on the ground. And his cloak is quite dirty. His clothing's quite dirty because he's been climbing through the mud. He's come off his horse. And that's him. He only has a normal sword, which is a defensive sword. But if you're playing Warhammer, that still means you get a +1 to your strength because you get a -1 to save as well. Yeah, that's how it works. So it's still a useful thing. This guy's real job is to issue orders and to lead soldiers, although he will be very good in combat as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he is trained.
Oh yeah, he's
like, basically a knight.
He is a knight.
Yeah, he's a knight, but he's been given a higher rank.
Yeah. So that's him. He's quite good. He's quite good. The Livonian brothers didn't actually make knights. They didn't make people knights, which is interesting.
Stupid.
No, they didn't knight people. So you had to be a knight when you joined the order. So they're the only holy order that didn't make knights. I'm sure had the order survived as its own order, it probably would have done.
But yeah, learn a lesson.
Yeah, but he just didn't last long enough. After 30 years of combat, he died, so... Yeah, shame really. Right. Any more questions?
I haven't given you one question yet.
Oh, sorry, I thought you'd already asked a question. Right, carry on then.
Right. First question. If there were there only 2 marshals?
For the order, yes.
And so that means there was only like 60 to 80 Livonian knights, well, no Livonian soldiers.
Yes. No, there are 48.
Wow.
48 knights. In total.
So...
And 36 died at the Battle of Sula, so... Yeah, the order was pretty much destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really unpleasant. So, yeah.
What's the marshal's main job?
The marshal's main job is really administration. When you're not fighting, they have to make sure the castle's running. They have to make sure that the outposts are operating and they're manned by sergeants. They have to make sure the food arrives on time. So they have lots of people who work for them who they have to administrate. It's basically a governor. Nowadays you would term him as a governor rather than a sort of military officer, although he was a military rank. But when they weren't fighting, he would be in charge of the administration of the local part of the order. In combat, he would be the commander in the field. So he would be in charge, unless the Grand Master turned up, or the Master and Commander, then it's him. It's all down to him.
Right, last question.
Yeah.
Did he get paid?
Well, knights are an interesting one. Typically, knights didn't get paid. Typically, they didn't take a wage from the order.
Yeah, but he has a higher rank.
They had everything. They had everything for free. So if they wanted food, the food arrived. If they wanted new armour, the new armour arrived. You just said, "I want a sword arrived from some peasant would bring it to you, someone lower down in the order.
Want a mace?
Yeah, the mace would arrive. Someone would bring a mace. If there's an Englishman present, it might be a good mace. If there's a Frenchman present, a peasant Frenchman. I doubt there'd be a peasant Frenchman there. If there was a French,
break in combat.
Yeah, no, he'd turn up and give you a mace with a chainy bit.
Oh, like that over there.
Yeah, that's a flail. That's a 2-headed chain. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the same as a ball. Yeah. But yeah, anything he wanted basically turned up. And also he had very little to spend the money on, really, because he's a knight. Knights don't buy things. They have nothing to buy. They don't need to.
You could buy the way to heaven.
Well, they do by crusading.
Exactly.
That gets them into heaven.
So they do pay for something.
Well, possibly one of the reasons the Livonian order was so unruly was because they didn't ordain knights themselves. They didn't carry out knighthoods. So it might be that rough, scruffy knights from other places would go and join the order. And they'd probably be fire eaters and alcoholics or something, and so you'd have to put up with these really unruly knights. You imagine Monty Python, when it shows you Camelot.
Yeah.
Where Knights the Round Table and all that. Yeah. That's probably what these guys were like all the time. They're probably Livonians. Sort of dancing and partying and then going out and fighting.
Yeah.
For no reason. Yeah, so that is the figure. I quite, it's not a bad figure. I think the helmet is actually out of the cavalry box. All the knights, the character knights, I'm using a mounted version. So it's a cavalry helmet that they're wearing. But these things are pretty round and square at the same time. the helmet was certainly very heavy. We own one, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really heavy. You don't want to turn around really quickly because you'd probably break your neck. But if you're going to go into combat, you want to be dressed as a knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be in full body armour and have a helmet on. You're going to last longer. So, next one?
That's it.
That's everything. Okay. It is only one figure. I apologise for making a figure about only one figure. Making a figure? Did I say video or figure? I said video.
You said multiple words.
I did. Lots of words. I'm going to say lots of words and talk about stuff. And oh, look, there's a skylight.
So if you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe. And comment down below what you think of the Marshal.
Yeah. Cool. You can also use him as a master and commander. I will explain what one of those is in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.
That's it from me.
And everything from him. Goodbye.
Au revoir.